Hey guys, welcome to the shop. Now this week we're going to have quite a few things really. I'm going to be working on the shaper some. We've got to make some T-nuts for our K&T Mill. They're 11/16 and I don't have any. So we're going to start on that. I need to make my fixture to hold my overarm support true when I braze it up because it's got a crack in it. We'll discuss that in a minute. So lathe work, shaper work, maybe some brazing, who knows. So we'll see how far we get. So let's get started. Alright, so here is the large casting that we're going to repair, and this is the overarm support for the horizontal mill for the K&T. And all this does is slide over the two large rams that stick out of the front of that machine and help support the horizontal arbor when you're, milling in the horizontal position. And hopefully you can see that crack there. I've outlined it, and it runs about halfway through the casting here. And I'm afraid that if I don't do anything about this would work the way it is, but I'm afraid that if I don't repair it, it'll continue, and it probably will, because cast is bad about that. So, to repair this, I've come up with a plan that I think will work, and that is take a piece of drop. This is just a piece of material that I have that's a little larger than what I need. Machine it to the size of this bore, slide it in, burr out my crack really well, and notch this, and then come in and braze this up. Hopefully this will hold this bore true and won't give me any distortion, after I braze it. At least that's the plan. Now, ideally, I would like a piece of bar stock to go all the way through here, but I don't have that, other than the rams on the mill, and I'm not going to be heating on those. So I'm going to get this in the lathe, and we'll get our bores measured, make sure that it's, what we think it is, and go from there. Alright, so this is one of those jobs that, it's kind of nerve-wracking to do. You don't want to mess something like this up. They're not super easy to find, and they don't give them away usually. So, and I want it to be right. I don't want it to, have any issues when I slide it up onto the rams of that machine. So I want to measure this bore and see what it measures. I'm going to use large, that's 6-inch, so this should be 4 1/4. Use my 4 5s, and I don't often use these larger ones, so I always like to check them to make sure it's a 4-inch standard. Check them to make sure they're on before I go relying on the measurements that I get with them. And they are on the money. Every once in a while I go through here and calibrate them, but I always check. So good. So our mics are good. We need something to measure that bore with, so we'll use our Starrett bore gauges. Now this is at rest. This is not clamped. You can see it has a cut through there, so when you tighten this nut, it squeezes on the rams that slide through here. So at rest, I'm curious to see what these bores are. So the rams are 4 1/4 coming off those out of that machine, and they're basically exactly 4 1/4. So we'll see what these are, and it'll give us an idea. Slide it out. So it should be 4 1/4, hopefully, or right around there, within a few thousandths. So we are, so at rest it's about at 1,000th over. So 4.251 at rest. So good. All right, so not ideal using this small of a slug. I'd prefer to have both those bores supported, the full length, but we use what we got. should be getting really close now, at least within 100 thousandths, probably within 50, I'm guessing. And I'm going to let this thing cool down. Yeah, I'm within probably 50 or 60 thousandths. So I'm going to let this thing get down to room temperature because it's pretty hot. So we're remove probably about 500 thousandths from it. So let it cool down, take my measurements then I'll be a lot closer on my final dimension. Alright guys, so if you're new to the channel, and I'm always getting a bunch of new people, so bear with me if you've heard this before, but this is my Cincinnati 24-inch metal shaper. It's got the universal table and stuff. And I've had this thing for probably going on a couple of years. And, you know, you always get those questions about, you know, why a shaper? Why do you use a shaper? You know, what's the benefits or the drawbacks? And I use it because I really like the machine, to be honest. Not because it's faster than any other machine or better, you know, but it does have its large advantages. Big flat surfaces, cutting angles and stuff, this thing's pretty good at cutting compound angles, stuff like that. But it's great for making T-nuts. I mean, you know, you can set this machine to going and just go do something else while it does its thing. But let's get it set up. I've got a piece in the mill, or in the vise right now, that is just a piece of big mild steel, but it's got some really tough mill scale on it. And that's another benefit to this machine, is it uses just standard high-speed steel. You know, cheap cutters that you can grind yourself. You don't have to go out and buy new cutters, you just hit the bench grinder. So we're going to change our tool out for this rough mill scale. It's really, really hard on a sharp edge. We're going to use just a blunt tool, basically, just a roughing tool. This is a really, really tough edge, very little relief ground in this at all behind the cutting edge. A shaper does not require much relief, and therefore you can really remove a lot of crusty, rough material, you know, flame cut edges and stuff with a shaper, and you know, not cost yourself any high dollar tooling. So let me get this changed up, we'll get set up, and we'll clean this off and lay it out. Alright, so we're going to be cutting left to right. I'm just going to come back here and zero on my high spot. Oil. Smoke the chop up good. Be about our highest corner. Come down and zero. Touched. Now I'm going to just go ahead and dial in 100 thousandths and let this thing chew through that. We're going to go 20 thousandths per stroke, so it'll be fairly aggressive, and then we'll come back and clean it up with a different cutter. It has turned into a beautiful day today. I actually don't have to have a huge jacket. Now I've stripped this thing down, pulled the wicks and stuff out of it, pulled the bushing out, and our bushing that we made, or support, turned down to size, and of course it would have, the size turned right down to where the screws were in this existing piece, but I don't think it's going to make any difference, to be honest. Just a support. Now, let me get you down here where you can see this. This board is actually a little distorted where it's cracked. Let me see if I can get you a shot of that. Hopefully you can see it. As you can see that, and I can actually feel it. So it is a little out of shape. I'm just going to take my carbide burr and clean that up, and not a whole lot. I don't want to remove a lot from this inside surface, just enough to get it to where I can hopefully slide in my bushing. Then I'm going to drill it out at the back of the crack, so it doesn't keep pushing through this casting. And then we will preheat this thing and braze it up. Got it all tore down, so should be good to go. So before I lose the end of this crack, I better drill it out. I'll drill a little past it. Alright, so I'd like to get one of them crack check kits that you use dye, but I don't have one at the moment. And what I'm doing is just heating this, and any oil that's in the crack will, a lot of times come up and show. You can see that's, hopefully you can see that. So I'll just heat this up a bit, make sure I'm at the end. I'm going to drill another hole back here just to be safe. I think I didn't get quite to the end of it. Okay, you see that oil percolating out of the crack there. Just a good way, if you don't have one of them kits, to make sure you're on the crack. You probably can't see it, but down inside that farthest hole is still a little bit of a crack. Now it could be from where I'm heating it, it could be making it go on back, but I don't think that's the case. I'm just heating this thing up. I mean, it's not even that hot, so just keep following it back till I don't see it. I think that's it. Cast iron's just hard to repair. just about ready to preheat this thing, I think. I've got to V this out just a little more. Hopefully this will work. And it's one of them things you just never know if it's going to actually hold up or not. So, at least you can get these. It's not like they're not available. So I'm just getting rid of all the sharp edges, man. They're just like razor sharp. You know, even poor finishing, you know, you would think could cause a crack. A razor sharp edge is much more likely to start fracturing and then follow through. Even with a good scratch, you know, a crack can want to follow that. So I'm just going to clean all these up while I'm doing it. So that's pretty hot. Not quite as hot as I would prefer, but about as hot as I can get it, to be honest. So, hope this works. If it doesn't, you know, just buy one. What else do you do? Working the bottom of the hole first, the bottom of the gap. I hope that was a success. I think it was. Probably not perfect, but it ain't got to be. Just got to work good. And we'll wrap it and let it cool down on its own. All right, so it's been a couple hours. It's probably been about 3 or 4 hours, and it's cool. It's still warm, but cool enough to handle. Knocked the plug out. It actually come out pretty easy. I did have to tap it out with a hammer, but it wasn't a problem. I missed one little spot right there, and I think I'm a hair low right out here, but for the majority of it, that actually looks pretty good. So we'll have to clean that up. I'll just use my little angle grinder and polish that up, and then we'll get a little better look at it. Looks pretty good. Once that's cleaned and really good and filled, this will get a skim coat like Bondo on a car, and nobody will ever even see that. No one will ever know. A couple little low spots, but nothing bad. Alright, so let's do a test fit. See how it does. I don't expect it to actually fit, to be honest. Not without some modification. Where that bore was cracked, it's definitely going to be distorted, and then the heat we put out too. So we'll have to, I'm sure, coax it to fit. So I'm going to put a little blue on this bore, or on this ram, so I can see where, you know, where my high spots are, wherever it's touching, so I can remove those areas. It's just scraping blue, high spot blue. I hope it works. This is the one that was broken, so it actually somewhat fits. That bore's definitely out of round. Nice. Pretty good contact, but it's kind of, you know, torqued down a little. It ain't gonna matter. 3 of these bores out of 4 are good. I'm just gonna hand relieve this bore with a scraper to where, you know, it doesn't rub hard. It should slide on pretty easy. It should slide on like that. But it, of course it doesn't. This is pretty good. Better than I expected, let's just say that. I expected to have to fight this thing. It's starting to rain. Very good, man. I'm happy with that. I mean, you get the idea. I'm going to clean up those boards a little bit and then call this thing good. Put it back together, paint it, and it'll be a serviceable, I believe, serviceable support. Alright, so let me show you what I'm dealing with, and you know, you get the idea. I'm going to be scraping this. So where this thing broke here, the bore kind of collapsed up here. It's touching good all down in here because it's forcing it this way. All this material here is where it should be. This I don't think has moved, at least not much. So all I'm going to be doing is removing the material extra that's touching up here, just to where this thing slides up on. All the rest of the 3 bores, or 3 areas here, should be fine. So when I scrape this to just where it slides over, it should be plenty good enough, I think. So that's the plan. You know, that'll take a while, but you get the idea. Alright, somebody, I don't know who, sent me 2 bottles of layout fluid, which was really nice because my little bottle of blue was about empty and I didn't have any red, so thanks. I actually used that. I've been using it for my T-nut job. Man, I've got a mess that I gotta clean up. Anyway, and also got 2 bottles of blue Osborne layout fluid spray, which I have never used before, and a bottle of layout fluid remover. So that was very nice. There was no name on any of the boxes, so if this was you, thank you. I appreciate it. Let's try some of this. I've never tried it. Kind of messy. Gotta be in a decent spot to use it, but look how quick that covered that. And that, look at that coverage too. I'd have to say I like that. We'll let that dry, try to remove it with the remover, see how that works. I got one more thing I want to show you too while that's drying. So I got everything together just to test fit to see how everything lines up. I'm pretty happy with it, to be honest. I really think after this thing's painted and filled with some filler, you'll never know it was broke, and it won't make a bit of difference. This should last a lifetime, as long as it doesn't crack anymore. You just never know with these old castings. But it should be okay, I think. I was happy to have enough spacers to actually put together a setup that I possibly could use, on my 1 1/4" arbor. So it looks good. I'm happy with that. That layout fluid should be dry, so let's go check it, and I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to show you one more thing. So look how nice that laid on there. I mean, I always try to, when I lay it down, the layout fluid, I always try to lay it good and smooth, but man, you can't get it anywhere near that smooth with a brush. I had never used this stuff before. This is made by Osborne, so I really appreciate it. Don't know who sent it to me, but I'm assuming the same person sent me, all this stuff. So greatly appreciated. Now let's try this remover. So this is CRC layout fluid remover specific. I always use carburetor cleaner. Put a little on a rag. That's easy. There you go. That's pretty good stuff. I appreciate that. I think that's a lifetime supply for me, for sure. I've got one more thing I want to show you. Now, a friend of mine, David Brahma, sent me several items. Sent me 2 hats, really nice Team Oracle hats. David said in a letter that he works on this plane, and if this plane looks familiar to you, it's probably because you've seen it on YouTube. I have seen it several times, and I was surprised when David contacted me and said that he actually works on the plane. So thank you, David. Sent me some hats, some bracelets, some remove before flight keychains, and some really nice pins. So thank you, David. I appreciate that. Those are super nice. Send me some stickers too. Already got them up on the board. So thank you very much. That's nice stuff. Well, guys, that's it. I'm officially out of time this week. always push it to the very last minute where I can get everything done, get a video up on time. So I really appreciate you guys watching. I definitely wouldn't do it if it wasn't for you guys, so thank you. And just a big thanks to all the guys who made a donation on my PayPal button on my homepage. That really made my day. I really appreciate it. Even a few bucks makes always makes a huge difference. So thank you very much from the bottom of my family's heart. And all my patrons, you guys are awesome. Thank you. And hopefully the new year will bring lots of good, exciting stuff that we can get into. I really think things hopefully will only get better. You never know, but I hope it's the same for you. So thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. If you need anything, contact me through my email. If you have something to say, leave it in the comments, and I'll try to get back with you. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.